First things first, wait till you hear who's making a hard push for Kawhi Leonard this offseason. Should the Claw want out of Hollywood? The Dallas Cowboys looking like they'll be awfully good this year on paper. Are you buying Dak's claim this season will be special? And when push comes to shove, Patrick Beverley will most likely be there.
I saw what you did there.
Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. Brandon Marshall, if this happened to you, would you accept an apology from Patrick Beverley?
Oh, Jenna, I'm a flowers guy. I like flowers with my apology. So if he apologized and also gave me flowers, absolutely, 100%.
If that happened to Brandon, Patrick Beverley would be in the hospital. There'd be no apology. There would be an arrest.
Hold me back. Hold me back, Nick. Hold me back.
We'll get to his apology in a little bit. We got to start, though, with some Bucks-Hawks Game 5 last night. No Trae Young for Atlanta. No Giannis for the Bucks. Only one team had no problem with those gaping holes, and that would be Milwaukee. How about that whole starting lineup stepping up? How about one of the starters, Brook Lopez, pouring in a playoff career high, wait for it, 33 points from Brook Lopez. He wasn't the only one, though. Bobby Portis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton also chipping in 20-plus. A very well-balanced attack last night, giving the Bucks the big win, giving them the 3-2 series lead over the Atlanta Hawks. Here is Brook Lopez after the win.
Maybe.
Well, I had a great game.
Brook Lopez's big night. He did have a big. Oh, you're being Brook Lopez?
I shot the ball in the center of 7-5.
So obviously Brook had a big night, and he had to have a big night because that guy, Giannis, was once again not in the lineup. So the latest on him reports are he has, quote, a gulf to make up in his rehab ahead of Game 6, so they might need to rely on Brook Lopez yet again. But, Nick, how should Bucks fans feel this morning after winning Game 5 without Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Well, Jenna, they should feel a hell of a lot better than Brook Lopez because that was his one and only chance to ever get a press conference played on a show, and now it's gone. Sorry, Brook. That was it. Been in the league a decade. We were finally going to hear what your voice sounds like. Now it's gone. See you later, Brook. See you the next time you score 30 points in the playoffs, probably be never. Bucks fans should feel pretty damn good.
Why?
Because here's what they bought yesterday. Time. Do you think the Bucks can win one of the next two against Atlanta without Giannis? Because Giannis, I don't care what the Bucks are, publicly saying. There is a 0% chance Giannis is back in this series. With the win last night and with Drew Holiday finally this postseason looking like the guy they traded a small king's ransom for, you've got to feel like, Brandon, they can win one of the next two without Giannis.
Right.
And then you look to the finals and you say, okay, Phoenix has home court. So we're supposed to lose those first two games of the finals either way. Let's look at the first three games of the finals. Could we potentially be down 2-1? Could we steal one victory in game 1, 2, or 3 without Giannis? Maybe. And now all of a sudden you could have close to 2 weeks to get him back for the stretch run of the finals. And all of a sudden your championship hopes are alive. Because as good as the Bucks looked yesterday, Brandon, they cannot win 4 out of 7 against Phoenix without Giannis. Right. But if they get there and if they stay alive, they just hang around, then all of a sudden you got a chance. And so we got the news yesterday or day before yesterday that Giannis's knee, there were no ligament damage. It's still a bad injury, but it's not going to need surgery.
No structural damage.
So that was good news. Then they played great last night. The fact that they're even talking about him for Game 6, even though I think that can be dismissed, means the finals are a real possibility.
Right.
So I think Bucks fans should feel pretty damn good this morning.
Yeah, I mean, they should be celebrating. For them to sneak away with a win that way, they should feel really good. Not only the win, Nick, but how they did it. Am I reading this right, Jenna? Did you read that correctly? Was that graphic right? We're talking about Middleton, 26 points, Lopez, 33, Portis, 22,
starters with 20
and Holiday,
points.
25. What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How they did it. Total control. We've been talking about, all playoffs. The Suns are the most complete team, most balanced team. But hell, last night, that was pure mastery. So they should feel really good about that. And Nick, you are right. Yesterday you were just talking about Drew Holiday stepping up. Like, where are you? They gave you everything. Not only did they give up stuff, but they gave you the big bag. So that's how you tell the team and the organization thank you for coming to get me and also giving me the big bag. So Wilds, I think they should feel good, because when you don't have the Greek freak, that's an easy 30, 10 rebounds, maybe 15 rebounds a night, and some entertainment from the free throw line, right? So not only are you missing the production, but you're missing the entertainment, right? Like, is it 10 seconds? Is it 12 seconds? Is it 13 seconds? So no, they should feel good, Wilds.
I agree. I think Bucks fans should feel good. I'm happy for Lopez. I'm happy for Bobby Portis. I'm happy for Drew Holiday. Maybe he gets out of his funk a little bit. Although he had 33 earlier in the series, he felt like he was more aggressive. Chris Middleton, a little starring roles, happy for him. But you know what, Nick? No one should be as happy as Suns fans, because watching that game, like, we are going to roll this team. This is going to be Suns in 4 without the fight, because that team is just terrible. I'm sorry. They're like, I know we want to give the Bucks their flowers. We got to say flowers every show. But that team is not good. And it's hard as a basketball fan to sort of thread the needle by being optimistic and liking the product and just being like, this game was, I think Simmons referred to it as a blah fest. And look, just outside of that game, the Bucks are 7-5 without Giannis. They're just not a quality squad. So I think you nailed it on the head. They just need a lot. I'm just being honest. Debbie honest. So it's just someone's got to say it.
But
the product last night was not great. Go.
Listen, both teams were without their best player. I understand that. But we have seen in these playoffs a bunch of instances of a team being without its star guy and on a singular night outplaying a more whole team. You can go to the final 2 games for the Clippers against the Jazz. Now, part of that was because Quinn Snyder's coaching. I understand that. But you can also go to the way the Hawks played in the first half of Game 4 against the Bucks without Trey. The other element to this, Brandon, and you mentioned him, but I want to kind of zoom in on it. Chris Middleton has had 3 games this postseason where he has scored at least 35 points. Trae Young is the most with 5. There's a handful of guys with 4 that have all been eliminated from the playoffs, by the way, like Luka, Embiid, and KD. And then there's Chris Middleton. So if you're the Bucks, you're just saying to yourself, all right, assuming they win one of the next 2, can Chris Middleton have one great game in the first 3 games against Phoenix? Well, if he can, then all of a sudden,
statistics say yes.
Be down 2-1. Yeah, and I think he could. I think the Bucks, if Giannis can come back at some point, Brandon, I think the Bucks are very alive.
Yeah, but Chris Middleton, we don't know. He has to do his job, right? And statistics say the trend is showing that he's going to have a really good game, maybe 2 really good games. There's going to be a game where it just looks like he just takes off. He's the most confusing NBA player I think I've ever seen. Like, this dude is really good. We talked about him and Shaq. We weren't comparing him to Kobe, but just just how these 2 guys stack up to what Shaq and Kobe was doing, the roles. But, when you look at his game, we're talking about pure butter. And Wilds, I'm sorry, man, before we go, I got to get on you. last night I was at overtime. They had a basketball game at Florida Memorial, right? And so all these basketball legends are walking up to me. They're like, "Oh man, that buddy, that guy Wiles you're on the show with, he's amazing. This dude has done some amazing things in production and then in the game of basketball." And then all of a sudden, you come on here and be Debbie Downer talking about the game and the product. That was a good game, man. You had almost all of their starters go for 20+ points, and you gonna come on here this morning and be Debbie Downer?
I'm sorry,
on,
I
man.
demand excellence.
Take my flowers back.
Here's the only reason I didn't mean to be too negative. Here's the weird part about it, and Nick, help me out because I want to be optimistic. It's the first conference finals game when I was almost exclusively thinking about the Suns. I didn't think that either of these teams really felt like they were a quality enough team to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I was trying to do these like mental gymnastics and be like, oh, this is interesting, and maybe the Bucks' perseverance and they're working as a team, and I just didn't have it. So I'll try to find it in the course of the show.
Without Giannis and Trey, they're not. But I don't think Giannis is done for the year, Jenna. I think there's a chance he's back, and if he's back, the Bucks are an absolute contender, Jenna.
Here's the other reason to be optimistic. Did we all watch Trey warm up before the game? He did not look 100% at all. He looked like he was still favoring that leg. It's not a guarantee he's even going to be in the next game or two. So that in and of itself gives the Bucks a little shot in the arm and gives Giannis a chance to rest up if they don't. That's optimistic right there. I pull from pessimism. Optimistic for the Bucks.
More pessimistic.
Clearly not. Hey, look, Bucks now just 1 win away from finishing off the Hawks. So there you go. There's optimism. Let's move on to we're going to call it the shove heard around the world. Should CP3 accept Pat Bev's apology? We found out yesterday what Antoine Walker thinks. Take a listen.
I'm from Chicago, born and raised. Patrick Bev is a good friend of mine. That was a hater move last night. I'm disappointed in him to do that to Chris Paul on a national stage. We're competitors in Chicago. We know how to win. We know how to lose. And I was so disappointed. And I can't wait to see him come summertime because that's not nowhere for the game to hate on the guy. He could have got hurt last night and not be able to play in the finals. And I'm disappointed in that. And I felt like I had to say that.
Play a little draw in a blank, and then we'll do some more show for an hour, and then we'll get to Wild's question. We're still talking about the shove. Patrick Beverley ejected from the Clippers' elimination Game 6 loss to the Suns on Wednesday. Thankfully, CP3 not hurt as a result. Now Chris Haynes reporting that Beverley is facing a suspension. Yesterday, he apologized. Sort of. He tweeted, "Emotions got the best of me last night, gang. My bad. Wasn't meant for you. Congrats on making it to the finals. Best of luck." Hey, Brandon. Beverley's apology to Chris Paul was blank.
Look, I know a lot of people are looking at this, dissecting it and saying, well, is that really an apology? Is that how you're supposed to do it? And then there's some people saying, well, he only did it because of the media pressure. But look, the answer is like a dude. Dudes, we don't know how to apologize. We don't know how to connect with these emotions. We don't sit around and say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. Please forgive me.
No,
so he just doesn't know how to do it.
Not an excuse.
I'm telling you.
No way.
I know.
You cannot use your gender as a reason you cannot apologize. It's a human thing.
We have to learn how to communicate. We just have to learn how to communicate, and it's clear that he doesn't know how to. Now, here's the deal. I will take this if he texts CP3, if he called him. Now, if you just hit me up on Twitter, bruh, it's just for the gram, and I can't accept it. So hopefully offline, he hit CP3 up and was like, look, man, this is what happened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they squashed it and moved on. But, Nick, he probably will be suspended next year. He should be suspended. Get a guy a game, 2 games, not 5. I know Wiles called for 5 yesterday, just 2.
Yeah, you gotta give him 5.
How about lifetime? How about get him out of the league because he's bad for basketball?
Oh my goodness.
Listen, everyone should go to Patrick Beverley's Twitter feed because it is unintentionally hilarious because it is literally 37 of his last 38 tweets are just glory to God. That's all it says. And then it's like, yo, CP3, sorry for shoving you in the back like a clown. Wasn't meant for you. Who was it meant for? His shadow? So, apology, not accepted. And I'm going to actually give a controversial apology take, Wilds. Apologies, wildly overrated. I hate when people are like, I just want you to apologize. Why? Like, listen, sometimes people say they're sorry, and I don't feel better at all.
What I'm saying,
Sometimes
Jenna?
people never say anything, and I'm like, I'm over it. No, it's
No,
just...
you're making my point, Brandon.
It's formulaic. It's like, okay, we all have to do this dance. I did this really bad thing that I don't actually feel badly about, but if I say these words, I apologize. It's like going to confession at Catholic school growing up. No, it's nonsense. The apology, not accepted. He's not sorry. It was meant for him. He's bad for basketball. Not accepted. Okay. What,
right.
Wild? What do you like?
I 100% accept it, Jenna. I am on Team Patrick Beverly. Let's put it in the past and move forward. He is going to get suspended 5 days. Here's why he had to apologize. And this is the other thing that's interesting about this story that no one's talking about. In the sports world, anything that happens, analysts and media people are always looking for the rare take. Like, you could get out there and, kick the ball into the stands. And you'd be like, you know what? That fires up the team. You can, anything. Some radio host somewhere will be like, I actually thought it was a savvy move. Literally, Patrick Beverly went over. Patrick Beverly went over media. And I was the only one when Nick put me in the corner. I was like, I don't think he did it. So I was the only one. So once you go over media, there's no other way out except to apologize.
I mean, what did CP3 say?
Fake.
What could he have said to make him do that?
He reminded him that he's Patrick Beverly.
Takes.
Sorry.
Sign up for Wild's Weird and Wonderful. Jacob deGrom, another outing, another dominant performance, striking out 14 yesterday, and yet the Mets still lose. The Mets pulled a Mets. Kevin Wilds, what else you got for us?
Oh, first inning, Twins, White Sox, Nelson Cruz, bouncing ball to third base. And shout out to the glove. You know what? This happens a few times. I don't know, it's because the gloves are too good or not good enough. Glove gets caught, or excuse me, the ball gets caught in the glove. Nelson Cruz ends up getting a hit. Moving on to the wonderful Brewers Pirates, bottom of the second. This is the best play you've seen all week. Ben Gamble hits a bomb to center. Former great Red Sox, Jackie Bradley Jr. is like, oh, this one's out of the park. No, it's not. I caught it, and I'm going to double you up off first. He tricks the runner into going to second like it's going to be a home run. Oh! And then guns him out. Great play, Jackie Bradley Jr. That's the weird and the wonderful from the national pastime.
Running like that.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I love that. Hey, can we talk some football? It's been a second. Let's get back into it. Dak Prescott, beyond excited for the upcoming season. So is Jenna Wolfe. Wait till you hear why he's excited. My reason not as important. Back after this. First things first. We got some good news to pass along this morning. We are, as we currently sit, just 9 short weeks away from the start of the football season. And how about that? And for the Dallas Cowboys, a boatload of optimism. Our friends over at Fox Bet Sportsbook have them favored. The Dallas Cowboys favored to win the NFC East with an over-under set at 9.5 wins. Dak Prescott was asked what he expects out of this season. He said this: improvement, a lot of improvement, obviously, from last year to this year. But deeper than that, from those first 5 games, we're just excited. We're excited that hopefully we can stay healthy. We can get good fortune on that end. Then we can just put everything we've worked hard for together on all stages and all phases of the game. We're excited for this year. It's going to be very, very special for us and for Cowboys fans. The eternal optimist, Dak Prescott. I love it. All right, Brandon, do you share Dak's optimism about the Dallas Cowboys?
Listen, I'm torn here. You guys know how I feel about talking about the Cowboys. But before I even get into how I feel, I can understand how Dak feels, right? As a player, when you step into an organization, you're coming with your own baggage, your own experiences, and your own expectations. But sometimes we forget the baggage, the expectations, and all the experiences that this organization has carried for years and years and years. So when we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the challenge is you guys been saying this for 15, 20 years. Like, when are you guys going to get it done? So it's like, oh, it's America's team, it's America's team. Well, we get it. We understand. But we want to see it happen. So Dak Prescott, he's supposed to feel this way. And they actually do have a really good team on paper. They just got to get it done. They got a few bigs back on the offensive line. They could be dangerous. Zeke looks like he's taking the offseason serious. He had a down year. Those wide receivers are lethal. They didn't take a year off. They didn't have their guy. And before Dak went down, they were averaging almost 500 yards in total offense. I think it was like 497. I mean, they were just destroying folks, but they had too many turnovers. And like you guys, we always say on this show, ball security is job security, yours and mine. So that was part of the reason why they were losing so many games early. But on the defensive side, Nick, you know that is the biggest challenge. They need to figure that out. Now, they brought in Dan Quinn. Great. They brought in Micah Parsons, first rounder from Penn State, linebacker, and get sideline to sideline. Great. But you guys got to figure it out, because you got to go from, the worst defense in NFL history to at least okay and average if Dak wants to see his team become a contender. So there's a lot to this. I want to see them put it on the field. I want to take it from the paper and put it on the field. If they do that, they could potentially find themselves in a good spot towards the end of this season.
And it certainly helps that division is so down, not up and down, down.
Ooh.
The Eagles, I don't think are going to be good. The Giants, I don't think are going to be good. And then there's Washington. Washington, I know you're very high on them, Brandon, who has a great defense and a good coach. And Brandon, you're going to like this. If Washington can get good quarterback play out of Taylor Heineke, I think they got a great chance. Then I think they got a great chance. But so that just leaves the Cowboys. But Wild, so is there any, here's the thing. I use an example from the culinary world, because Wilds, as people don't know it, he's a bit of a gastro, likes to go sample the different Michelin restaurants and
Indeed,
chefs.
I am.
About 3 times a year, I see something on the menu that I want, and it says it has truffle butter on it. And I'm like, man, everyone loves this thing. There was even a great song about it. Everyone talks about the truffle this, truffle that. I'm like, I'm going to give it a try again. And every time I'm like, I actually hate this. Every time it lets me down. But guess what? In a couple months, I'm going to do it again. That's me with the Cowboys. 4 of the last 5 years, I've been like, you know what? I know that I just picked them to go to the Super Bowl, and they were horrifying. But look at the roster. Look at the division. And here's the thing about defense versus offense. Offense carries over year to year historically. If you got a top 5 offense one year and you bring the guys back, you're likely going to have at least a top 8 offense the next year. Defense goes up and down. Defense is like the GameStop stock. You don't know. Is it going to be way here or is it going to be down here? Who knows? And so there's a lot of change in that because of the randomness of turnovers, the way a couple bounces can change things for your overall defensive rating. So I'm like, oh, Cowboys' terrible defense last year. I'm tricking myself into thinking that's actually a good thing. They're like, well, it's definitely going to be better. And Dak's back. So guess what, Wilds? I do share his optimism. I think Cowboys are going to win 11 games. I think Cowboys are going to win the division. Am I going to regret this? Almost assuredly. But right now, I really do think I'm like, well, they got a great running back. They got all these wide receivers.
Didn't you just make that mistake the last 2 years?
Yes.
That's why he keeps
I keep making it.
So
yeah.
Oh my brother. Oh my goodness. Washington football team, I'm telling you right now, they're the real deal. You talking about quarterbacks. Jenna's laughing at me. Their defense next level. Just had dinner with Chase Young. This dude is freaking biting, not only eating steak, but he's eating the plate. He's ready to go. And then you got Fitzmagic leading the way, a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's what they've been missing is the Hall of Fame quarterback play. Talking about.
So, all right, Wilds.
You know you've got to take when you say that Chase Young literally ate a plate, and it's not the most ridiculous thing you said in the last 30 seconds. All right, here's the challenge for the Cowboys.
That's great.
And I'll talk about all of our teams. So if I said, Nick, do we think the Chiefs' offense is going to be good next year? You say, yeah, guaranteed. And my Patriots, like, Kevin, do you think the Patriots' defense is going to be good? I'm like, guaranteed. And I'll say, Brandon, do you think the Jets are going to disappoint? And he's like, yeah, guaranteed. There's a bunch of guarantees on the board for our favorite teams. There is so much, I think so, about the Cowboys. I think that's a cause for concern. So, like, Nick, I'm going to ask you, like, 5 questions. Hey, are you sure that Dak Prescott is going to be 100% and look like he did last year before the injury? You're like, I think so. Like, hey, are you sure Zeke hasn't lost a step, even though he hasn't like had any like long runs like he did his first 2 years? Like, are you sure Dan Quinn is going to be like this defensive mastermind? Are you sure that the attitude problems that we heard coming out of the locker room when guys are saying like, hey, we can't try every play. There's so many question marks around the team. There's a certain point where like optimism has to be the bedrock foundation. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you can point to other teams in the league and show me the guarantee. What is the guarantee about the Cowboys? I really don't know. I'm going to ask, what is the guaranteed thing? Put it down in ink, guaranteed the Cowboys will what?
New year.
The guarantee, I do think, and I think you'll agree with me on this, I think it's guaranteed the Cowboys will have the best offense in the NFC East. I think that is guaranteed.
That's fair.
Now, they also might have the worst. Right. Well, I can't guarantee that, but I think they're going to have a very good offense, and I can guarantee they're going to have the best offense in their division. But they also might have the worst coach in their division. I'm not sure. So I'm already somewhat regretting it. But then I look at the offense, and I'm like, man, they can score a lot of points, and offense has never mattered more in this league. And so it just feels to me like they're the safest NFC East bet, Brandon.
Listen, Nick, you continue to set yourself up with this. There's a lot of people, that go back and forth with the Dallas Cowboys. But the reality is this is a team that can become a contender if they protect the ball. So when I said that they could potentially be the best offense in the NFL, it wasn't because Dak's coming back, got a big arm, they got all these wide receivers, they got a big offensive line. If they stay healthy, they could be a top 5 offensive line. I'm saying that because before Dak Prescott went down, they were leading the league in yards per game, total offense. The offense was phenomenal. So the only thing they got to do on the offensive side, which everybody do, is because of war of attrition, stay healthy, but they have to protect the ball. And then on the defensive side, man, that was terrible, like Sir Charles would say. Like, you can't give up 300, 400 yards in passing. Like, that's just ridiculous. You got guys saying, well, I don't give effort, on every single play. You just can't do that. So they just need to have a mindset shift and a mentality, a change in mentality on the defensive side. Just be decent. If they're just decent on defense, this team will be a contender. So I just want to see it happen, Jenna. That's what I want to see. I think everybody want to see America's team just make it happen finally.
All right, I'm just happy we're talking football again. I love it. Let's get back to the NBA. Nick's got some NBA medals to hand out. Bobby Portis got the start for Giannis last night, and he delivered 22 points, 8 boards to help lead Milwaukee to the win. But it was a well-rounded effort from the Bucks, and Portis missed a medal. Nick, who made the podium?
Sorry, Bobby, just missed out. The Bucks' big 3 temporarily, or maybe for the rest of the playoffs, they all got medals. Bronze, Drew Holiday. The second best game this postseason. This is the Drew Holiday they signed to the max extension and traded for. 25, 6, and 13 in total control throughout. The Hawks could do nothing with him, and his shot was finally falling. Silver medal, Chris Middleton. This is only it's so weird. He has 3 or 4 F games these playoffs and 3 or 4 A triple plus games. This was like a solid B plus for him.
Right.
26,
right.
13, and 8 in the win over the Hawks. And then the goal. Oh, Brook Lopez. He might not get the headlines his brother does for his brother's constant attacks on mascots around the league, but here's what he did last night. Dropped a playoff career high, 33 points. Brook Lopez, he's kind of a bit of a chameleon. It's like, hey, you want me to just shoot threes? I can do that. You want me to rim protect? I can do that. You want me to all of a sudden start doing hook shot after hook shot? Give me a chance. Brook Lopez, 33 points on 18 field goal attempts. He gets the goal for his best playoff game of his career. Oh,
yeah, they all
maybe they unlocked something without Giannis.
All right, that's who made the cut. Kevin Wildes, who just missed the cut?
Well, we're on the eve of a great holiday weekend. I hope everyone out there has a wonderful time with their family. Nick, I know you're going to get on a flight to Slovenia to see your son put up 18, 6, and 10 last night in a win over Poland as he gets ready for the Olympics. So I'll see you all on Monday, buddy, but I hope you have a good flight.
Yeah, quick turnaround for me, but got to go out there and support the kid.
Bring me back the t-shirt.
Slovenia's known
Sticking
for
with
their
hoops.
dates.
Support the kid. Something's wrong with you,
Kawhi
Nick.
Leonard already has at least 2 suitors. Who's chasing Kawhi this offseason? We'll tell you next. First things first. Back here on First Things First with Chris Broussard, and we're talking some Kawhi Leonard. So, Broussard, whether he chooses to or not, Kawhi can opt out of his contract this offseason. And you know who else knows that? The rest of the league. According to Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer, the Mavs and the Heat both plan to make a hard push for Kawhi. Those signs still point to him staying with the Clippers. Hey, we've seen in the past that Kawhi is more than willing to change locations. Broussard, what would it say about him if he does leave the Clippers after only 2 seasons?
Well, first, look, I do think there are 2 legitimate reasons for Kawhi to leave. One, we know our own Skip Bayless here at FS1 has said that he has issues with the medical staff with the Clippers. Now, I don't know. I haven't confirmed that. I don't know if that's true or not. But if he does, if there was some egregious mistake made on, by the Clippers medical staff that affected Kawhi and Steve Ballmer wouldn't correct it, okay, that would be a legitimate reason in Kawhi's mind and in many people's minds. Secondly, if Kawhi has come to the conclusion that, you know what, I don't like playing at home. Too much family, too many friends, too many demands. Everybody wants tickets. I just need to be away from home during the season. Then that would be a legitimate reason. Now, I don't think either of those 2 things are correct. I don't think that's the case, especially with him just buying a $17 million house in March in Los Angeles. So I don't think that's the issue. But if he left for one of those 2 reasons, then you'd say, okay, that's a personal decision. That's legitimate. Any other reason, and I would find myself saying, what is Kawhi Leonard thinking? Like, there's no other reason. If he went to Dallas,
right,
that would tell me you don't want to be the man. You don't like having the responsibility of carrying a franchise. You don't like the pressure and the expectations that come with that. You don't like being the face of a franchise. You don't like being the one that gets criticized if you don't win a championship or if you underachieve. So you go to Dallas where Luka can handle all that. If you go to Miami, that is at best, a lateral move. Getting through the East with Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, and Atlanta, are they for real? We'll see in the future. But it's no easier than getting through the West. And your supporting cast in Miami would be no better than your supporting cast with the Clippers. It'd be very close. And Miami can't even get you the full max. So I don't. If he left for anything but the first 2 reasons, to me, it would speak negatively about Kawhi Leonard. Like, what do you want? You're moving too much. You don't want to be the man. You got a great situation. Why'd you leave? So I don't see it happening.
Right. And look, you can entertain it this conversation all you want. Nick, Wiles, Jenna, y'all can entertain this. I'm not going to entertain this nonsense. I did this yesterday when we were talking about this. Kawhi Leonard, 2-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 5-time NBA All-Star. This list goes on and on and on. 3-time All-NBA first team, 2-time All-NBA second team. I can keep going. And the last thing on his little Wikipedia, California Mr. Basketball. There's nothing left for this man to do. He is comfortable in LA, okay? He's in total control, anything he wants, and he can compete to be a contender. So why would he entertain leaving? Now, Nick, I know you always want to talk, not you always want to talk about, but you're like, and rightfully so, you're like, this whole thing about the medical staff is a big thing because it was one of the reasons why, the biggest reason why he left San Antonio, because of the medical staff and how he felt like, they weren't right. But here's the thing, Nick, you come into the league a boy and then eventually you become a man. If you stay long enough, you become a man. So what does that mean? If Kawhi Leonard doesn't sit down with Bomber like Chris said and say, you know what, this is how I feel, let's work this out, then he is dead wrong and we should absolutely crush him. There's no reason for him to leave. The only thing he needs to do is go to PG-13 and say, bruh, what you just did when I went down, please continue to do next year and we will be just fine.
So I understand everything you and Broussard are saying. However, I do think there's a third reason that Broussard didn't list that he might leave. But before I say it, let's also talk about, instead of speculation and supposition, what we know. What we know is Kawhi Leonard has not said, I'm staying. Kawhi Leonard was asked about this back in December, and he was like, listen, obviously if I'm healthy financially, I should opt out of my contract. And then he followed that up by saying, but that doesn't mean I'm leaving, and it doesn't mean I'm staying. It's like, oh, well, that's a somewhat interesting comment. Like, there's no rule against Kawhi at any point saying, of course I'm re-signing. And you can say, oh, it takes away his leverage. No, it doesn't. He has all the leverage he wants, and he will no matter what he says. He's going to get the full max if he demands it, which he will, and he's going to get the no-trade clause. I would think that may be the only point of contention. And then the other thing we know is, Kawhi Leonard bought a mansion. Here's the thing, and I work with some rich people. Some are on this set right now, and I know a lot of them. Here's the thing about rich people: own a lot of houses. Got a summer house here, got a vacation property here, travel here and there. He owns a house as if there's some rule that you must only own one house. That ain't how it works.
How many houses do you have, Wiles?
Listen, Wiles, he's got a summer
the question
thing here.
is for Nick.
He's got several. Yeah, no. I mean, Jenna, I think right now is doing the show from the Hamptons. Broussard is bi-coastal. God only knows how many properties Brandon owns. And so, but that's neither here nor there. So, but let's stay. I want to go back to Broussard quickly because I know Wilds has another angle. Chris, here's a third reason he might want to leave. Better chance to win. Dallas with Kawhi is better. It's just better. He has a relationship with Nico, the guy they just hired from Nike from back when Kawhi was with Nico. Luka is exponentially better than Paul George, and the Mavs aren't handcuffed with bad contracts, aside from Kristaps arguably, and they at least have their own draft capital, more so than the Clippers do. The Clippers have not done a great job. Well, I shouldn't say that. The Clippers don't have flexibility because of what they had to give up to get Paul George. They have this year's draft picks and then not their own until 2027. So if the third option is, I just want to win again, Dallas is a better option. I agree with you on Miami. Miami's a lateral move, but the thing with Miami is Jimmy Butler's there. He initially wanted to play with Jimmy, and then he decided to play with Paul George once Jimmy wasn't available. But wouldn't you think Dallas plus Kawhi is better?
Kawhi Leonard doesn't need to go ring chasing. Kawhi Leonard has already, he's a made man. He's got 2 rings. I would not sacrifice being the man in a place where I can win to go be the second fiddle. Luka is, you're right, he's better than Paul George, no doubt about that. But here's the other thing, Nick. Luka's ball dominant. Now, he's young enough where he might be able to change. I actually think they need to change up a little bit the way he plays and get him being part of the system rather than the system. Kristaps Porzingis, for goodness sakes, is complaining about he don't get enough touches and enough ability to do his thing. You think Kawhi Leonard's going to be happy playing with somebody that's dominating the ball the way Luka is? As great as he is, that is tough to play with when you're a guy that can go get your own stuff. You can create off the dribble and things like that. That's hard to play with when you can do those things. So I think that's an issue. And Nick, let me throw this to you quickly. Don't you think it would be a chance to win, a better chance to win, perhaps. But also, wouldn't it say Kawhi doesn't want to be the man? Like I said, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to be the face of the franchise.
Yeah, it might.
Put it on
But here's
Luka.
the thing. It might. He might not want to be. Like, he had a ton of success in San Antonio, wasn't the man, and then left when he became the man. Toronto was like a one-year mercenary thing. LA was about going home. Wilds, what we know about Kawhi is he wants to be left alone. He wants to play basketball, wear those silly shoes, make bad commercials, and be left alone. That's what he wants. It was very silly. And
Nick,
so,
James Worthy wore New Balance. James Worthy wore New Balance.
30 years ago. Go ahead, Wilds.
How about I meet you in the middle? Because I don't think he cares about being the man. I think he cares about winning, especially if you have a chronic injury that's sort of like you've got to be thinking about your long-term future. The only thing that drives you is winning. And we know that he likes to win. If you want to see him have real emotion, it's when he wins the championship. So I'm going to throw this to you, Broussard. Kevin O'Connor crushed this article, by the way, if we could put this full screen up. With so few avenues to make significant moves, obviously they're stuck with the salary cap. They got Reggie Jackson coming up. Some executives wonder, what if Leonard wants the Clippers to dump George in order for him to re-sign long-term? It'd be a heck of a power play. Broussard, this seems to be a little Game of Thronesy, but might be the answer. The Clippers are not going to be any better next year. In fact, they could be worse if they lose Reggie Jackson. So unless you want a totally different result, when you're looking at teams that are stacked, we know that Brooklyn is going to be stacked and healthy next year. I don't think, and we know the Lakers are going to be healthy, I don't think Kawhi thinks he can run it back and really make a run of the championship. So what do you think about him saying, hey, Steve, what do we think about moving Paul George for somebody?
Well, sure, if he can get better than Paul George, no doubt. If you could get Dame Lillard or somebody like that for Paul George, you do it in a heartbeat. But it's not like you have to jettison Paul George. And you're right, they're not going to be the definitive favorites. Nobody is except Brooklyn. That's it. Phoenix, if they win it this year, they're not the definitive favorites. The Lakers aren't the definitive favorites. The only team that people will say, if they're healthy, they're going to win it, is Brooklyn. And Nick knows it. He don't want to admit it. So this is pure speculation. I know how it works, too. I mean, these are rival executives. They don't know what's in Kawhi Leonard's head. They have no idea. This is just, and I get it. I do it, too, with execs. But this is just them talking. This is just them talking. What if he wants
that
Paul
small jersey
George?
on, Brandon?
Let's go.
That's all that is.
Put on
So
that
this
baby
is not.
jersey.
I don't even know what we talking about anymore.
Kawhi
All I heard was the Nets. All I heard was the Nets is the only clear-cut favorite to the title next year. I don't even know what we talking about anymore. Talk that talk, Chris. That's what I'm talking about. That's the base. That's the base I've been asking about all year. That's the base I want.
Broussard, give us what we want. Give us that hit of the good stuff. Say those words. Say those 2 words about next year. Let me hear it. Let me hear it, Broussard.
Yes, the favorite. Brooklyn Nets are the favorite.
It's over.
Let's go home. Let's go
last night's action. Good news and bad news for Bucks fans. Which do you want first? I'll choose. It's next. It's first things first.
You know I'm right, Nick.
Today, the knockout rounds of the 2021 Copa America begin with a quarterfinal doubleheader. Peru takes on Paraguay at 4:30 Eastern. Then it's the last 2 Copa champions as Brazil battles Chile, all on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Time now for Wild's Weird and Wonderful from the world of baseball. Jacob deGrom, another outing, another dominant, fantastic, awesome performance, striking out 14 in this one, and yet Mets still lose. They pulled a Mets, although they're playing well. Kevin Wilds, what else you got for us?
Oh, first inning, Twins, White Sox. Nelson Cruz at the plate. Hits a bouncing ball at third. Moncada fields it, and, well, it stays there. Stays in his glove. Gets it bopped out. Ball wedged in glove. Cruz gets credited with a hit. The glove gets credited for having the holes in the glove too big. Moving on to Brewers Pirates, bottom of the second. Ben Gamble hits a bomb to center. And watch this. Former Red Sox great Jackie Bradley Jr. like, oh, it's out of the park. No, it's not. Fakes it to catch Stallings off first place. It's a brilliant play, double play, courtesy of Jackie Bradley Jr. I would like to have him back on the Red Sox, but it's not to be. And that's the weird and the wonderful from the national pastime, Jenna.
I love it. Good stuff.
Let's
get back to the NFL. And one of the teams to watch heading into this season, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, coming off an impressive season, went 11-5, then took down the Steelers in the playoffs. Then they gave the Chiefs a tough game after that. And as a result, Pro Football Focus has them, the Browns, as the second best roster in the AFC, behind only the Chiefs. Brandon, you buying that Baker and the Browns can legitimately challenge Kansas City this season?
Oh, Jenna, absolutely not.
Boy.
Let me be clear here. No, listen, I'm going to talk all ball. I'm not going to let our personal business get involved, trickle into this conversation, Nick. I'm talking all ball. And I want to be clear here. The Chiefs, there's no competition with the Chiefs. The only competition and only person that the Chiefs need to look out for is health. That is absolutely it. The Chiefs are just next level, and here's why. When you saw, if you go back and watch what they did to the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, you'll immediately understand why no one can compete with them in the AFC. Because there's no defense in the AFC that is extremely smart. You have to be extremely smart to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. You also have to have pressure on the quarterback. You got to have a D-line that can get to the quarterback or a scheme. So when you look at the AFC and you look at how it's built, there's nobody that can slow this guy down. So if, injuries set in and guys start going down, then yeah, we can change the conversation. But everything goes as planned and everyone's healthy, then there's no one that can compete in the AFC. Like what they did to the Buffalo Bills was like an NFL team playing against a JV team. Those guys dropped back in coverage. They didn't read, okay, two went here, so one's coming in, so let me slide over. They just took what the coach put on paper and got right to their spots. The cover two, Mike linebacker, my job against this coverage on this play is to go 5 yards back and just stay right here. But you have to be smart. We talk about football IQ. You got to be able to say, okay, 90% of the time when number two, the guy in the slot, goes to the flat, there's probably going to be something coming in. So let me slide a little bit so Patrick Mahomes doesn't have these big old holes and seams to throw to. So that is the problem. I mean, maybe the Baltimore Ravens can do it, but then you have some challenge on the offensive side. They can't throw the ball. So Nick, I know you love the Chiefs, and so this should be exciting news for you, but I just don't see anyone competing against them outside of health.
Yeah, listen, it's been shown over the last couple of years, the way to beat the Chiefs is have 4/5 of their offensive line injured, have every incomplete pass you throw called pass interference, and be allowed to punch Patrick Mahomes in the face. You do those things, you can beat the Chiefs, otherwise you're in trouble. So we agree that the Chiefs are head and shoulders the best team in the AFC. The question really is, who's the second best? And to me, there are four teams in that conversation. I think Brandon would say there's 5 teams in that conversation. So the 4 teams we agree on, I think, are Browns, Ravens, Bills, Titans. Brandon would add the Colts, I think.
What's my 5th?
Of those 5 teams, the Colts.
Yeah, you know
Brandon's high on the Colts.
You get me.
Of those 5 teams, I believe the Browns are clearly the best. I think the Browns of those 5 teams have the best overall roster. I think the Browns of those 5 teams, you could argue, and I think basically all of them are very well coached, you could argue that in a very small sample, Stefanski has shown himself to be the best, at least offensive coach of the group. John Harbaugh, you got to give him credit for what he's done over 20 or nearly 20 years, or 15 plus years in Baltimore. I do think the Browns, if you were to put the question like this, The Chiefs just got transferred to the NFC. Who's the favorite in the AFC? To me, it would be the Browns. To me, the most likely AFC championship game is Chiefs-Browns. And I do think, Wilds, that there is an argument to be made
so much.
Well, let me go back to you then, Brandon. Because the only question mark people really have on the Browns,
I wanted to wait till
the
September
secondary
to get
needs to be
spicy
better.
here.
No, we can do it right now. We can do it right now.
Talk to me.
The real question mark is that people have is Baker. But the thing is this. Baker in his last 5 years of football has had one bad year. It was year 2 in Cleveland with arguably the most unqualified NFL head coach of the modern era. He was amazing in college at every stop. He was excellent his rookie year, and he was very, very good last year, particularly the second half of last year after Odell went down. So I believe in the surplus of results rather than the outlier year 2. So for those reasons, I think the thing is this. If you believe in Baker, as I do, and I know not everyone does, the Browns are a great team. If you don't believe in Baker, then they're still a good team. But if you believe in him, Brandon, then they're a great team. They're just, I don't think they're as good as the Chiefs, but they're a great team.
Listen, you have OBJ. Obviously, he's coming back from an ACL. You haven't been able to figure out this OBJ and Baker Mayfield relationship. And then on the defensive side, you have a major hole in your defense at the linebacker position. And then the secondary, they got some good dudes, and they opened it up some more this offseason. They want to go play dime and get more speed on the field. But I just don't know that they'll be able to hold up against a Baltimore Ravens team who's going to double down on the run. So you may not even get out of your division to even compete with the Chiefs. So I just don't know why you're so high. Well, obviously, you just said why you're high on them. I just wish I can convince you to come to the other side. And yes, wow, the Colts, that is a team to look out for. Carson Wentz will be next level next year. So, this whole discussion about the Browns to me is just ludicrous.
Okay, here's the most interesting thing about the Browns. The Browns play the Chiefs in week 1, and I think they're in an odd win-win scenario. Here's why. Last year, remember, they opened up against the Ravens, and they got shellacked. And it's like, same old Browns. Then they went and rattled off 4 straight. And then they would go on these little winning streaks. And, that loss was actually, kind of good for them. They sort of got refocused. All right, put that behind us. They won 4 straight. So now they play the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs blow them out, they'll be like, it was just like last year against the Ravens. But, Nick, what if the Browns win? If the Browns win against the Chiefs, and you see the brand new guy, we've got Jadeveon Clowney there. I want to see how that defense puts pressure on Mahomes. And you guys have a rebuilt offensive line, which I know you're very happy about, but maybe it takes a few games to be perfectly in tune. If the Browns end up beating the Chiefs, I think we get to see college Baker. We get to see Baker playing at a confidence that we've never seen him play before in the NFL. It's not like the lowly Browns. It will be the first game in a long time since the Raiders ran their bus around your stadium that you saw whoa, this team really put a beating on Kansas City. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, so it's an interesting hypothetical, but since the Chiefs' stated goal is to go 20-0, I seriously doubt they're going to start 0-1, kind of undercut the whole goal of the entire season. But I do think for the Browns, it is, Brandon mentioned the OBJ-Baker connection, and that is a major question mark. That has not worked so far. And as much as I'm a fan of Baker, I'm just as, if not a bigger fan of Odell, and I would like to see that work. We have seen his offseason workout, and it looks like he is as healthy as a guy can possibly be,
he'll be fine
coming off that injury. And so I think Odell's going to be great, but Baker has to not be forcing the ball to him the way he was early in last season, and I think that worked against him. What I'm surprised by, Brandon, is that there hasn't been more buzz surrounding, and I'm not just talking about from you, the Bills. It feels like the Bills were the like hot topic team, and then the AFC Championship game went so sideways for him that people just abandoned him somewhat. That it was like, all right, we've seen them play the Chiefs a few times now, and they just can't match up with them. And so people are almost looking at the Bills in a separate tier.
Yeah, listen, I'm extremely high on the Buffalo Bills. They'll be a really good team for a long time, but until they can get a defense that can play with the Chiefs, I don't see them advancing to the Super Bowl. And why do I say that? Because when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who can make all the throws on the field and he's super smart, you have to play chess. You can't just drop back and play cover 3 and cover 2 and just get to your spots. You got to communicate. You got to move. And that's what you didn't see in the Buffalo Bills game when they played against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Those guys got back there. Patrick Mahomes had all the time in the world, and he was picking them apart. Now, any other team, the Buffalo Bills will be fine because they're not going to be going against a Patrick Mahomes and going against, that threat. That defense was really good. Now they upgraded it. They brought in a defensive line. They brought another pass rusher. But at the end of the day, those linebackers, that secondary, you got to be able to move. Think about the Ray Lewis's defenses back in the day. Think about Brian Urlacher and that matchup against Aaron Rodgers. You saw those guys at the line of scrimmage. When Aaron Rodgers checked, Brian Urlacher checked. Pepsi, telling Peanut Tillman, we're doing this. Lance Briggs, we're doing this. Izzy, Julius Peppers. All those guys were talking every single play. If you don't see any communication on the defensive side, then it's not a really smart defense. It's about the coach and the scheme and not about the players. And it beat guys like that, it got to be about the players. That's why, it's going to be a struggle for this team.
9 weeks, 68 days, we get to talk football every day. Time for Nick's NBA medals now. We're still talking NBA. Bobby Portis got the start for Giannis last night, and he delivered 22 points, 8 boards to help lead Milwaukee to the win. But it was a well-rounded effort from the Bucks. Portis did not get a medal. Nick, who made your podium?
All 3 of the Bucks' remaining big 3 got a medal, with a nice little surprise for Brandon at the end here. Jrue Holiday comes in with the bronze medal. He had his second best playoff game as a Buck. This is what they're going to need from him the rest of the way. 25, 6, and 13, playing up to what they traded him for in a huge moment for him last night. Silver medal, Chris Middleton. He had another really good game. Middleton, while he's had a few no-shows these playoffs, he also has 3 35-point games. Last night, filled up stat line 26, 13, and 8. And then the gold medal. 33 points, first career 30-point playoff game for Brook Lopez. And here's why I said good news for Brandon. Brandon, you keep, ever since the Nets blew a 2-0 lead and then a 3-2 lead and then lost Game 7 at home, their season ended in, tragedy. You've been asking me to put a net on the medal stand. Did you know?
Let's go.
Brook Lopez is the all-time leading scorer in Nets history. So, greatest net ever?
I did not know that.
Some say yes. He right there just got a gold medal. So that is a de facto gold medal for the Brooklyn Nets. It's nice for them to win something later in the year since the actual team couldn't. Go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, as the resident archivist and the resident historian, I believe you. I get it. But there's one guy that's probably going to pass Brook Lopez here soon, and that is this guy, Kevin Durant. And I felt like, I'm always looking for an opportunity to talk about the Nets. He should be up on this podium. Why? Because him and his partner, Rich, it seems like they just made another big investment, and that's going to probably 10x, 5x. So it's another opportunity to have KD on the podium. Let's go.
5x.
Yeah. It's not an investment medal stand, Brandon. It's a basketball medal stand, and they're not playing.
Wow, so just missed the cut.
Oh,
I tried.
Just missing the cut. Our friend Luka goes 18, 6, and 10. Beat Poland yesterday. Nick made me watch this game because I had him come to my son Billy's soccer game. He's like, well, if you're going to make me come to Billy's soccer game, you have to watch Luka. I said, you know what? Fair deal. So good job, Luka, just missing the cut.
Yep, I had Slovenia minus the 36. Good job, Luka. Barely covered, but we got it done.
Hey, Kawhi already has at least 2 suitors. Who's chasing Kawhi this offseason? We'll tell you next. First things first.
The Rated R Superstar Edge is backing out for vengeance on Roman Reigns. Plus, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in a last man standing match. It's an all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern, tonight on Fox.
Does anyone do promos better than Fox? Stories to start your morning brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We are talking Kawhi Leonard. Whether he chooses to or not, Kawhi can opt out of his contract this season. You know who else knows that? The rest of the league. According to Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer, the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat both plan to make a hard push for Kawhi, although signs still point to him staying with the Clippers. We've seen in the past Kawhi more than willing to change locations. Nick, what would it say about Kawhi Leonard if he leaves the Clippers after just 2 seasons?
That he wants to win a championship more than he wants to play at home. I mean, I wouldn't judge him for it. Going to Dallas is a better option from a basketball standpoint than staying with the Clippers. The Clippers have no flexibility cap-wise. They have no draft picks to trade after this year because of what they did to acquire Paul George. Now, what the Clippers have going for them is maybe the best coach in basketball. And the Mavs obviously have gone through some front office and head coaching turnover this offseason. So there is that aspect of it that I think you would have to weigh. But Luka is one of the 3 best players in basketball are LeBron, KD, and Luka. We can argue about the order later, but that's your top 3. Shortly after that on the list comes Kawhi. Then there's another group. Then there's another group, and that group has Paul George in it. So if you have an opportunity to team up with a guy who's better than the guy you're currently teaming up with for an organization that has a far better history than the one you currently play for, that has more flexibility to improve the roster in the years to come, that's at least something you've got to consider. And as far as a fit standpoint, Brandon, there is, I understand the ball's always in Luka's hands, but the one thing Kawhi doesn't do at an A level or above on the basketball court is play make. He's an A-plus defender when he's healthy. Right. He's an A-plus shot maker when he's healthy. He can do all the... So Luka can handle the ball handling. Paul George and Kawhi kind of redundant skill set wise. And the last point I'll make on this is, I know Kevin O'Connor wrote all signs point to Kawhi staying. I see no signs. I see no signs pointing to him leaving. And I see no signs pointing to him staying. I see Kawhi is a black box. We know nothing about him except for that he bought a house. But rich people buy houses all the time.
Okay.
So I feel like it's a possibility, Brandon.
All right, look. Earlier we talked about this, and I didn't want to entertain it. I'll entertain it just for a little bit. This Dallas thing does make sense, Nick. Only if Kawhi Leonard believes his body can't hold up, right? Like, if you're the number 1 guy, that load, that's a lot, right? And you got a team where you're like, man, we're up against the cap. We don't have a lot of assets in the draft, so it's all going to be on me. But I know my knee or my knees or my back, whatever. I can't do it for 80-something games. I can't lead us to to be a champion. Yeah. Then that's when you entertain that if a team can't bring in someone, that can carry the weight for you when you're not there. But I just don't see this happening. Yes, that matters, Nick. It matters when, after all the things that you've done, and then you go to back home, you're comfortable, you're in control, and you can compete and contend. Yeah, buying a $17 million home matter. You come in the league, you're a boy, but eventually you become a man, and you start making those type of decisions as far as you know what? It ain't all about ball. I want it all. And then he's in a place right now where he can have it all. And I say this, 5-time All-Star Wilds, 2-time NBA champ, 7-time All-Defense. And he goes on and on and on. The last thing on there, 2009, in high school, he was Mr. California. There's nothing left for this man to do. Why would you leave, Wilds?
Well, I think he wants another championship. I think if you play through injury and you're already rich, why are you doing it? Because it's fun? Yeah, probably. But I think he has a drive to be a champion again. So here's the thing, Nick. What if the answer is actually like, I get to stay, but I make the team better by moving Paul George? This is what Kevin O'Connor wrote, if we could put up the quote panel, Katana. So, Nick, I think this is a solid answer. With so few avenues to make significant moves, some executives wonder, what if Leonard wants the Clippers to dump George in order for him to re-sign long-term, be a heck of a power play? This one makes sense to me because I see other teams will be better next year. We know that Brooklyn's going to be healthy. We know that the Lakers are going to be healthy. Okay, the Clippers are going to lose Reggie Jackson, so I don't. And they're stuck with these big contracts. We're trying to figure out, like, you can move Luke Kennard's contract. Yeah. You might have to say, like,
Yep.
The only emergency lever to pull is to ship Paul George out and try to get a new person in here so we play a little bit of different basketball.
So I think that's interesting, but I'm going to do what I always do when these things come up, which is turn the generic nouns into proper nouns. Who we trading Paul George for? Like, Portland's not trading Dame for him. That makes no sense for Portland. If Portland is ultimately going to trade Dame, it's going to be because they are doing a total reboot, not because they want to stay in the tier they're in. You're trading Ben Simmons for him?
Nick.
Does that all of a sudden fix what ails the Clippers? Like, I don't.
I think
It's hard to find the
Nick.
trade that really works, Brandon.
No, you're Kawhi Leonard. The two knocks on you was low management and you're not a leader. You stepped into both of those things this year. You go to Paul George and you say, bruh, what you just did when I went down, I need you to do that next year. They don't need to do anything. If Paul George steps up and do what he did this past playoffs, they'll be fine. Come on.
Have a great weekend, everyone.